So when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community in the US, what is the plan for them versus the plans for our side in Canada? Do you plan to have gender identity, gender expression rights like Bill C-16 applied to US law? Or do you want to insist on maybe having gay rights legislation installed into the democracy of America? Would that make more sense? Because I think that would. The US government needs to pass LGBTQS plus community rules and standards. Bill C-16 and Section 3 to the Criminal Code style law needs to exist down there. And another thing the US needs is a law to defend against pedophiles. Canada has a law like that. It's called the Child Exploitation Act, brought out in 1991 during the Mulroney years here in this country known as Canada. And that basically the law stipulates against those who are pedophiles. But I go through US law and flip through it quite extensively, and I find no anti-pedophile laws. I find no gender identity, gender expression laws either. That means the United States of America has no basis or means to protect their citizens from even the smallest harms brought onto and others by their own hatreds and contemptuations against each other. So obviously something needs to exist there. A framework like Bill C-16 and Section 3 to the Criminal Code of Canada, but then an anti-pedophile law to size up the system against pedophiles in the US. There's no laws whatsoever that exist down there to facilitate that. So obviously something needs to be done there, and something needs to be shined a light upon those who do things to children that are unthinkable and unspeakable, especially in the United States of America. And then also gender identity, gender expression laws similar to ours in Canada here. So obviously there needs to be some change and some considerations towards change, but that's not going to happen with the democracy of the United States right now. The democracy of the United States right now will not facilitate that. The Republicans will not facilitate that sort of change. It has to come from the Democrats. That should have come from Joe Biden when he was sitting in office for about 4 years too many, maybe even longer. But either way, when Joe Biden was in office, you'd think he would have played the role of Justin Trudeau and put those laws into effect, but he didn't. So that means the Democrats in the U.S. have considerable problems dealing with these kinds of issues because they don't want to facilitate a law or two laws to basically help the problems become less stringent against society. That's all I suggest, is that America considers doing that instead of ignoring that. That is a terrible thing. Canada does not ignore that, and we are a better country for it. The U.S. would be a much better country if they did the same thing too under the circumstances. That should have been considered a long time ago. MK Ultra, MK Delta, and MK Naomi would be better served by a gender identity, gender expressions law, federally stipulated, and then state stipulated across all 51 U.S. states. That would work. It would actually facilitate MK Ultra, MK Delta better, and then also an anti-pedophile law would help stipulate monarch and majestic mind control programs in a much different way, considering all the people that live there in the states under diversity and also under the principles of diversity. Maybe that should have been a consideration too. Hopefully YouTube listens to this and understands that.